So, as for the overall use of restraints and seclusion, the use of restraints and seclusion may lead to injury and or death of a client. There have been numerous news reports and instances of this happening. Even as recently as December of last year, a 13-year-old individual in California actually died from being placed in a face-down hold. You could have staff that may also be injured in cases where the behavior is of higher magnitude and the client is making it difficult for the staff to maintain control during the restraint or transport procedures. And clients may also be reinforced by the restraint, and it may function as a form of positive reinforcement for them. I know I've seen and experienced clients that have been placed in holds, and once you let go, they immediately start back up and seek it out because they like the pressure from being placed in the hold. From a parent and society viewpoint, the Association for Behavior Analysis International, or ABAI, they believe that individuals can be treated without restrictive intervention. They also say that it may be necessary on occasion, but only with very careful oversight and monitoring from a clinical member of the staff. And like I said earlier, there are numerous news stories over the years of individuals dying or being severely injured during the use of these procedures, and there's always interviews accompanying the stories of the parents and or the community, and in a majority of the cases it reflects that they are against the use of the restraints and seclusion, and they disagree with those procedures being used. Some ethical codes that actually deal with restraints and seclusion and punishment procedures. Code 4.08, considerations regarding punishments procedures. There's 4 subpoints. Point A, behavior analysts recommend reinforcement rather than punishment whenever possible. Point B, if punishment procedures are necessary, behavior analysts always include reinforcement procedures for alternative behavior in the behavior change program. Point C, before implementing punishment-based procedures, behavior analysts ensure that appropriate steps have been taken to implement reinforcement-based procedures unless the severity or dangerousness of the behavior necessitates immediate use of the aversive procedures. And point D, behavior analysts ensure that aversive procedures are accompanied by an increased level of training, supervision, and oversight. Behavior analysts must evaluate the effectiveness of aversive procedures in a timely manner, and they need to modify the behavior change program if it is ineffective. And they need to include a plan to discontinue the use of aversive procedures when they're no longer needed. And Code 4.09, least restrictive procedures, states that behavior analysts review and appraise the restrictiveness of procedures and always recommend the least restrictive procedures likely to be effective. So all of that basically just states that we need to use reinforcement-based procedures as much as possible, and that these restrictive procedures need to be a last resort. The implementation of these procedures, so having a staff that lacks the appropriate training to be able to properly implement the restraints and seclusion techniques is a concern, and it's been a trend that in the past has been noticed in incidents that ended fatally. Teaching these the implementation to staff should not be where the training stops. They should also know how to do prevention and de-escalation techniques, and that should be a priority, so that most of these instances that we hear of can be avoided if they use those de-escalation techniques and prevention. And then close monitoring of the implementation on a national level could also help reduce improper implementation of these techniques. So rather than a state-by-state basis, since there's no overall national system right now, we can't really monitor it, and a lot of individuals might not fully understand the proper implementation of these procedures.